Morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to In the Round with me, Philip Smith. And today we have Ripley, Stefan, and Nick coming to you from our office in Sydney, Australia. And to remind you, the objective of the series is to highlight the various capabilities, the various offices we have around the group, to give people an idea, a flavor of what it is we have throughout our global ecosystem and our global footprint. So Nick, perhaps you may start by just giving us a bit of background to how long we've been in Sydney, how long you've been with the company, and some history to where we are today.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually interesting because the Australian office has been around for a long time. I opened in 2009, acquisition of Elders Risk Management, focus on anything from producers through to processes, helping them manage that risk. We actually have one of the longest standing employees of StoneX Australia sitting next to it. I think 2009 you joined. Came on. But the office has developed a lot, and particularly more recently, we obviously had the Gain Capital acquisition, which opened up the retail business down here. That was 2020. 2022, we started applying for our ASX membership. Took a couple of years, longer than we would have liked, but we got there in the end. And that really was the instigator behind the growth in Australia and what we're trying to build out. And we've now got to the point where we've got 3 offices, around 70 people. I started in 2015, October 2015, so my 10-year anniversary. And we had probably 6, 7, 8 people back then. And so the ASX membership has really, as I say, accelerated the growth behind the business down here and looking to capitalize on the opportunities that are actually out here. Because I think, we were, back in the day, probably a one-trick pony, very focused on grains, and nothing wrong with that, but there's a lot more to achieve down here than just the grain market, and kind of start to develop our own ecosystem around our current customer base, but kind of build that out and pull more products down to Australia that we offer through the group. So, we've had a good roadmap built out from us from Singapore. Obviously, opened up in 2019 as an FCM through the acquisition of UOB, and we kind of are trying to follow in the footsteps of Singapore and bring the full global offering down to Australia. And I think we're doing it well. We're doing it in a way that is sustainable and creates a nice platform for our customers.
But is it correct to say that the fields and specialty we have in this office, we are dominating the Australian market? And I now turn to Stefan in terms of the elder statesman, it seems, of the Australian office, 2009. But in terms of cash grains, you are the market. Is that fair to say, or am I sort of overinflating your?
I've got to show up. I've started in December 2009 with FC Stone Farmers Commodities at the time, and it was a huge honor for me to join this company. But look, I do a lot of physical grains. I got to show up every day. I view myself as always an employee of StoneX, but I view myself first and foremost as an employee of all my clients. I know my clients rely on me every day for their marketing decisions. That includes processors, all the chicken companies in Australia who buy grain off me, all the feedlots who buy grain off me, all the flour mills. I've got the producers on one side and I've got the end users on the other side, and then there's the traders in the middle that we work with every day, helping them understand buying good and bad relative value. StoneX came to Australia in 2009. Which was the perfect timing because the Australian wheat market after World War I, World War II was a single desk with the Australian Wheat Board. And farmers up until 2008 used to just sell all their grain to the Australian Wheat Board, the Australian barley boards. And we happened to be down here. I came to Australia as a agronomist initially in South Australia, and the farmers I had didn't know how to market their grain. And so I joined a little grain marketing business in Sydney called Market Check at the time, which to this day is actually one of our major StoneX clients. And it was perfect. And obviously I joined StoneX, but I went to the FC Stone office before I started working for StoneX in Kansas City and met the CEO, president at the time, Pete Nessler, who spent a day with me in Kansas City before I joined StoneX. And, you know, for me, joining StoneX was a massive honor. I've always thought joining StoneX or FC Stone at the time was like being in the big leagues. And I know that StoneX in Australia now has a dream team of clients that any other brokerage business would want in Australia. We've got great clients, coast to coast, north to south. Yeah, and you know, it's been a huge honor for me to work with some of the best people in the industry, and we work with all of our interact with our global offices daily. We've got offices, I don't know, probably 30 offices in South America and probably 20 in the US, and I don't know how many offices in Europe, but it's great for me to reach out to our different offices when they got a production issue in certain areas, or there's a conflict happening in the Middle East or a conflict happening in Russia, Ukraine. To reach out to specialists in our different areas in the world. And that's what I think clients rely on me to distill that information from our global footprint and back to their front gates. It's been good for me to also work with guys like Rip, and I know since Rip has joined us in the last 2 years, I've learned more about cattle than I could have ever thought of. I didn't know anything about cattle, I realized, till Rip joined us.
But whilst it's a different product, and you know, the core link between all the products, all the capabilities is servicing clients, which is very much at the core of the StoneX ethos and its success. And Ripley, you've been the recent superstar of the boots on the ground video, celebrating your connection with your clients and in the cattle market in particular. And you know, a relatively new joiner, 2 years with StoneX, but unlike these two, you know, you're actually Australian, whereas we've got a Canadian and a Brit. So maybe tell us a bit about your client base and the nature of your business.
Yeah, I think it's you know, we talk about clients a lot as StoneX. I think, you know, like we do hammer it, but it's so true, and how lucky we are to have the people we get to work with. You know, like they are like exceptional people, and the group of clients I get to work with is, you know, I just think they're fantastic. It's a really unique offering we have. You know, these things have been tried before in Australia in terms of risk management for the livestock market, and hasn't worked, let's be honest. But the momentum that StoneX is building through what it can offer, which in my opinion is the most unique thing in the market, you know, through our global network and people we can connect with relative to anyone else, I think is very special. And I think the momentum that we're building as a business, bringing people together that are wanting to learn about these things, I think is really unique. And it's, when you think about the bigger picture and look at the sort of broader, longer term view, it's a really exciting space to be in. And I think, you know, through Nick's leadership, working with you, you know, working with, say, the carbon guys, dairy even, what we can offer a group of customers is something, in my view, no one else can. You know, it's that ecosystem, and it's a one-stop shop basically. As a business, we can provide a service to someone across 4, 5, 6 different things. You know, and I haven't even mentioned the financial markets and FX, for example. I think that as a standing in a marketplace, which you started with, is right for the picking, really excites me. And you look at the bigger picture and the longer term view of where StoneX can get to in what I would say is an underdeveloped market. And I think you recognise that, and obviously, you know, yourself, Philip, and the broader StoneX business recognise the opportunity in Australia. It's an undeveloped market, but because we can offer 4, 5, 6 different things, but you can come straight to us to do all of it, is really empowering, and it's a really exciting space to be in. That's why I love being here.
And innovation is at the core of this. So, you know, we've recently been, you know, pioneers in establishing, creating, and offering to our clients, you know, a new cattle swap, which, you know, is already hitting the ground running and doing incredibly well, and providing that necessary hedging capability that previously wasn't there. So, you know, it hopefully brings us even closer to our client base, and we become stickier, more relevant to our clients because of the innovation that we're able to provide and the capability that we're able to provide them access to.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. It is innovative and it is unique and it is something very special and specialised and it is niche. But StoneX has come in and are committed to the Australian livestock market and the agricultural market in general, and we're providing that service to the sector to help them deal with volatility in markets and risk and managing, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and they've never had the capability to manage risk before, and a lot of people, like in other sectors like grain, you just sit there and shake your head. And I think it's so, it just shows that the nature of StoneX and its mindset as a business to obviously be in Australia, but to present that opportunity and innovate and show to people, we can give you the tools and we're going to hold your hand and work you through it and be there to give you that service that you need. And I think that it's a credit to the business because other people clearly haven't done it, but StoneX put its hand up, took a bit of leadership and said, we'll do it and we'll be there to support you and make it happen. And look at the success it's brought, and the momentum it's building. It's a credit to the business. And you mentioned the word innovate, and it's so true.
I think people underestimate how much work goes into getting these contracts off the ground. And the amount of time Ripley spent driving around Queensland and New South Wales and Victoria, sitting down at kitchen tables and pubs and along the way and putting a lot of time and effort into making sure people properly understand what we're trying to do, what we're trying to bring to the table. I was actually thinking about, Stefan, how many miles you would have racked up over the last 16 years driving through, or being chauffeured through the bush.
I don't drive usually.
Yeah, I know.
There's a young guy, Lachlan, he drives all the time.
But you've got to visit the clients. You've got to get in front of them.
And this is why we have 3 offices now.
It's hard work in Australia because you've got some very remote clients who, there's a bit of effort involved.
I actually saw a stat. Australia has the 2nd highest number of airports in the world.
Per capita?
Per country.
Oh.
Over nearly 2,500 airports.
Yeah. When you think about it, it's not surprising. And I said it in boots on the ground, it takes me 2.5 days and 2,500, 3,000 Ks to get to someone before you then turn around and I've got to come all the way home.
Yeah.
But you mentioned it.
You hope they're actually there when you turn up.
And half the time they're like, I don't want to talk to you. But you're dead right about getting out and seeing people. And you're very good at it. And I think it's so important to get out, sit at the kitchen table, shake someone's hand and be there and be present. And I know they really appreciate it and value the time and effort you spend to actually get there. And I think and StoneX prioritises it because you've been a big champion of saying, right, you've got to get on the road and do it. And I think it's, you've got to make that commitment to your clients because we ultimately serve our clients, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, our office here is probably one of the most beautiful offices in the world. Level 42 of Australia Square, it's an iconic building. We just held a client event here a couple of weeks ago with 60 clients in this office. And I know the rent here wouldn't be cheap. But I think our clients love coming here and they love being associated with the StoneX brand. I know a lot of our clients are so proud to wear StoneX hat. And look, I know going out to see clients is good, and that information then filters back to our global client base globally and to the other brokers in different areas.
Well, we had a client event last night and a chance to meet a lot of the clients who deal with yourselves on a regular basis, and that's understanding and deep relationship was evident to me. And what I enjoyed was where you had clients who deal with us in multiple product areas, which is our ambition, is that a client of product A, department A, will also be a client of various other products and really benefit from the extensive product offering and ecosystem that StoneX provides.
I think that's what we're trying to build, right? I mean, we've kind of started off in the grain space and tried to build that ecosystem around that, and livestock and everything that goes into a feedlot, we can hedge it. And that's what we're trying to create. And we're looking at new products now that we can bring out and roll out across the industry to help people manage that risk. I mean, you look at the volatility in the Australian market,
it's a bit scary.
It would be one of the most volatile markets in the world. I think land prices went from $4 to $12 over a 6-month period, or cattle's just done the same.
30% in 3 months.
Yeah. So, we're out there, we're trying to help people create sustainable businesses which helps them,
deal with or
grow
manage their future. I mean, if you can't mitigate the volatility in some form or another of your input or output, you will struggle. Yeah. We're providing a vital service to maintain the longevity of our clients' businesses. So they should be, appreciative of the service that you're providing here, as we do across all of StoneX.
Phil, I think it's amazing that, here's a CEO of I don't know how many employees we have now, 5,000-6,000.
Oh, yeah.
Here's Philip Smith, flies down from London, he's probably exhausted, and he has to come and hang out with my clients. But my clients loved it. Having the CEO hang out, we had Greg Klinikis here, the CEO of Asia Pac, come meet them a few weeks ago. He doesn't like to be called the head of wheat, but one of our most senior risk management people that we've had with the company, Mike O'Day, he's been with the company for 39 years. He came and presented to my clients a few weeks ago here in Sydney, and that just goes to show the commitment that StoneX as a company has to our clients. The amount of money we invest for our clients is phenomenal. The amount of trips we do, driving, those aren't free. They cost money, but we're investing because we think there's value for our clients that we do that.
And our clients want to know what's going on elsewhere. They want to know what's happening in the Americas, what's happening in Brazil, what's happening with the crop, what's going on. There's the connectivity that's now truly global. We're able to provide that. We're able to provide the market intelligence, the insights, the direct, conversations with other parts of the company where boots on the ground means real close proximity to clients, proximity to what is going on in that market. And I think that becomes, ever more important for all of our clients to benefit from.
And it's funny you mentioned that, our part of our mantra is connecting clients to markets. On the podcast, my podcast, one of the most popular episodes in both examples is listening to Ryan Turner. What the Australians, and that's the majority of the listenership, admittedly we've got some in the UK and the US, but they want to hear what Ryan Turner has to say. And how unique is it that I can jump on a Teams call with Ryan at, 8 o'clock in the morning, whatever, and talk to Ryan Turner. And, Ryan Turner's so insightful, got so much insight to share, and he's obviously a member of the broader StoneX team, and I think that's so unique. Who else can do that? And it's clearly evident in the reception it's received, because it's, I think, the most popular episode is listening to someone, like listening to Ryan from somewhere else. And StoneX's capacity to do that is so unique, and people obviously value it and want to hear more of it. It's like you're talking about Mike, like.
Well, Ryan Turner is one of the most senior beef protein specialists in the world.
It's cool.
But he's available. He's an asset. He's a resource that can be utilized.
I think that's what's really changed, right, over probably my time at StoneX is, the communication between the different desks that we're now having, whether that's a COVID thing and everyone has got used to Teams and we have to jump on it and have conference calls. But, we're speaking with teams around the world on a daily basis to better understand what's going on. And teams around the world are forthcoming to have conversations with our customers, even if they're not going to generate any revenue off it. They're willing to jump on the phone and have those phone calls.
The world's getting smaller, and a more interconnected level of communication, I think, is important for our clients.
I don't want to be name dropping all the time, but fertilizer prices have exploded and been super volatile since probably 2021 when the Ukraine war happened. But Josh Linfield out of their Kansas City office is another guy. Everybody wants to talk to him. I think I'm not sure if he's like one of the top rated podcasters beside you, Rip, but for the company, but he is a massive following, Josh Linfield. Not sure if you know Josh from our fertilizer business, but clients want to know what he knows.
They want to talk to the experts.
And we have a number of customers down here which Josh does consulting for. So on a weekly basis, he'll jump on a call. We'll have that call every single week, rain, hail or shine. If he's on holiday, he'll still make the call.
So Nick, what excites you at the moment? What are you looking forward to? I mean, we went to the ASX yesterday, and we were recognised as being the number one clearer in.
So we are now, after a year of having our electricity membership at the ASX, we're now the number one execution venue for Australian power contracts.
Wow.
In 1 year. So I think we were doing about 40% of the flow that goes through the Aussie market.
And that's in addition to our position on grains being number one as well.
Number one on grains, execution. Unfortunately, we don't get to see the clearing stats. But that is, we've always been strong in the grain sector, and that's because we're backed up by Stefan, and we've got guys on the desk who have the knowledge and understanding of how to help people hedge their positions, educate them, tell them about opportunities in the market. So I would say we've probably been number one in grains for some time. But the electricity market is an exciting opportunity for us, and we've recently brought on a team of 5. So we've got boots on the ground, know the market, keep risk happy, knowing that we know what's going on in the space. And the team that we picked up, I mean, they were a different venue, they were just broking. They brought their client base along, and now we can add the broader capabilities to their client base, right? Whether that's clearing or OTC. And we want to build out as many of those capabilities as possible across these new markets that we're pushing into. Similarly with carbon, brought on a team of 3, which nicely ties into what Stefan and Ripley are doing. I mean, there's lots of opportunity to start getting out there and pushing these guys out to help educate farmers in the carbon space as well. So we put a lot of work into that electricity and carbon space over the last year. It's been a primary focus for us. I think what's exciting, you look at Australia, and we just came back from ASX, the rates market is such a big market out here. I think it's 4th largest rates market in the world. And we're only just skimming the surface on that. So I think as we kind of push further into the financial space, bring down some other capabilities, which have shifted to Singapore, and we want to pull down to Australia as well, across prime services, equities execution. We've just added outsourced trading. I think there's a lot of growth in that space for us, and we do talk about it. We see, banks pulling back from certain customers if they're not hitting certain levels or don't have enough AUM or not hitting revenue targets, and it slots us in nicely. You look at the makeup of clearers on ASX, and you've got 14 banks and then a couple of non-bank clearers, and we would be the largest non-bank clearer in the world who can support a lot of the business that these guys want to be doing.
Well, I think it's indicative of what we're trying to achieve across the organization, is say, look, we have a unique ecosystem and a unique product offering. How can we leverage each location? So in Australia being a perfect example, we now have 3 offices, Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane. But how can we leverage all the capabilities we have within StoneX for the client base here? And what's lovely to see is where clients are coming in through a particular product, but then when they see the various capabilities that are available to them, should they want to, they can easily broaden the touch points with StoneX. That's our objective, that's our nirvana. So having clients who deal with us in 4, 5, 6 different touch areas products, and then we become hugely relevant. But we are seeing, like we're seeing elsewhere in the organization, the banks stepping back. And I think you're seeing it here in Australia.
Look, it's you talk about that cross-selling, Philip, and one of our largest and longest clients, one of the largest sheep producers and grain growers in Australia, they have this charity every year that they donate money to Uganda, and they've built I think 100 schools and put about 1,000 kids through schools and universities in Uganda. And we had our payments. We had a client event in Melbourne. It's a poker net that we've held for like 15 years. And we had a fundraiser for these Uganda charity, which is also this client. And we had our payments people there who do currencies. And my colleague who was at the event was like, hey, how are they getting the money from Australian dollars to Uganda. And so now we're not just doing the grain and their livestock hedging for them, but we're also sending Uganda shillings, and we're saving them a heap of money.
Yep.
And this is like, they didn't even know we had this payments business. And now we're sending Uganda shillings for this charity. And yeah, I'm really honored to be, helping them. They're saving money, and we're making money too, obviously.
Well, they're saving money, or they're getting more Ugandan shillings into the country, into the charity's arms and hands, where they can spend it effectively.
Yeah, like obviously we're doing something right. When I joined StoneX, the share price was like $8, right? Now we're over 100, and the share price has been split twice. So we're like really more like 160.
Probably more like over 200.
Over 200. So, we're doing something right. Whatever we're doing is working. And, our job as brokers is to make sure that we connect the dots for our clients. Our clients are busy.
Making our clients' lives easier, making it less complicated, goes down it goes a long way in terms of the value add.
Yeah.
We cannot, overemphasize this. The relationships that we witnessed last night at the drinks with clients who deal with you on a daily basis, regular basis, is phenomenal. And that you can't just switch that on. You can't you can't just force it to happen. It has to happen because both parties want to continue to communicate and work with each other and build a relationship over a long period of time. And the longevity of yourselves in terms of your employment with StoneX, I think probably mirrors the longevity of a lot of the relationships you have with clients. And it's great to see, and you should all be very proud of those interactions and how your clients feel about you. Because you can't just magic it to happen.
No, and it takes years.
Yeah, I mean, it's the amount of time you invest in these relationships. And I think as well, like it's the amount of time that StoneX has invested in the growth in us, I guess. You being here 16 years and 17, 16. Me being here 10 years and hopefully a lot longer.
The thing is, I've still got my first client that I had in like 2007, 8. I still have my first client.
How good is that?
Yeah, and then my business has grown because it's been all referral. Like StoneX has not really done any marketing until recently. And it's kind of true, man. We never had an ad. Now you see us now you see our StoneX on like Sky News and we had it in stadiums. Obviously now we're spending a lot more money on marketing for brand awareness, but initially when we set up the business, it was all referral.
Yeah. Word of mouth interaction. And I suppose, from your client base, the biggest risk you have is clients consolidating, merging with each other, buying each other. And so there are perhaps fewer participants in the market, but you're not losing, hopefully you're not losing the business, but the change that you may be seeing is along the lines of that consolidation.
I think the biggest risk for me is reputation.
Well, that goes without saying. I mean, you wouldn't be sitting here after 16, 17, 18 years with a successful business if you didn't regard reputational risk as a paramount.
That's number one.
Yeah.
I never want to have a contract blow up. I've done some like 27,000 physical contracts since I joined StoneX, right? Which is a lot. It just adds up.
And dealt with 1,000 different companies.
Yes. We say across the board in StoneX, every dollar we generate is from servicing clients. So, we don't have a structure whereby clients are locked in. No client's locked into anything. Every client wants to trade with us, wants to work with us, wants to basically be our partner every step of the way. And that represents the revenue we generate, and that represents the growth, because our client base is growing, our business is growing, and our success follows that interaction and that core, belief that we take care of clients, we serve them incredibly well, and they will stay with us for as hopefully forever, because they value that service, they value that additional level of interaction, which I think is unique within StoneX, and it helps when banks are pulling out of a lot of these spaces, and we're filling a void.
I think banks pulling out space, but also our product offerings got a lot stronger.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we've not only can offer connectivity to exchanges, OTCs. We've just bought Commodity Solutions down here. FX markets, you name it. I mean, we can offer everything, and we do it holistically, and we try and find the best solution for the customer at the right time. And I think when you look at other providers in the space, you might only see different pockets of those products that you can offer. So it goes back to a one-stop shop, right? And being able to offer everything in one place.
Well, I imagine it's hard coming into a country for the first time, a new country, new client potential, and you only have one product offering. You've got to be, that's hard nowadays, whereas, us being able to solidify the relationships we have here based upon the broad ecosystem, I think, gives us that additional credibility and longevity, we hope.
Phil, you talk about clients merging, right? My goal is that my clients are buying out non-clients of mine.
Perfect.
So
that's the perfect. That's
I try to make my
you
clients
want.
successful, so they're buying the clients who are not using us. That's kind of my goal. I know the clients I've started with, most of them have gotten way bigger since 2009. And I hope that part of their success is because I've helped them. We've helped them, StoneX.
And you get a kick out of that too.
100%.
Makes you feel good and want to come to work every day when you're helping your clients.
What he doesn't want though is a client that doesn't use us buying a client that does use us. That's not so good.
But I think, the products that you trade in now have changed, not changed overall, but kind of developed. I mean, you were very focused on wheat, barley, canola at the beginning, and now you're doing freight, straw.
Look, let's not talk about what I do, but when I was hired, I was hired to focus on certain markets. I was hired to do track wheat. So I initially was a commodity specialist. Now I would say I'm much more of a relationship specialist. My business has changed from commodities, which I still know commodities, but whatever my client wants to do, I will do. Telling them what to grow, what to buy. A lot of my feed meals would be like commodity substitution. Do I use faba beans instead of soybean meal or lupins? Do I use wheat instead of barley for my feedlot? And what spread do I use, wheat or barley or corn? My business has changed a lot because now I think it's more about relationships. I've got the clients. I just want to do more with each client that I have because I know they're great clients.
Well, that's the core of our business, isn't it? Wanting to give them that extra mile, provide that extra level of service, provide that extra capability. That's deep in the StoneX ethos.
And I think you talk about how your business has evolved. What I've found with bringing commodity solutions to Australia, StoneX listens. Like the cattle swap has been really strong, but there were things that weren't working. And I openly admit that, and that's okay. But StoneX listened to what the market wanted, and we evolved and changed. And now we're bringing another solution, which is what the clients are effectively after. And I think for a global business, it's not a small company. It's big. To be able to listen to little clients, little farmers in a local market in Australia and adjust and shift to meet their needs, I think is really, unique. Like to bring that commodity solutions business to Australia, obviously started with grain, but we understood the opportunity in cattle and livestock in general. And to make that shift and listen to your clients really excites me. And it just shows the capability, the flexibility and the nimbleness of a company like us to actually deliver. And, I know it's going to be a great success. It just shows what we can do. And that excites me. That gets me really keen.
We have to maintain that.
Yep.
We have to maintain that innovation.
Yep.
That's nimbleness, as you said.
Yep.
I think the beauty of it is that, we've never been really told no, right?
Yes.
It's always explore it, see what you can build. And I think that's what's great about StoneX. We'll continue to innovate down here and continue to bring products that customers want.
Mm-hmm. It's like the lamb guys. We're looking at doing a lamb contract. They're that excited about it. They're opening accounts straight away. They don't actually know when if ever they're going to get access to it. But we're listening, and it really only came through people asking that are mixed farmers that are clients on the cattle front or on the grain side of yours, asking about it. What does StoneX do? Goes out and delivers it. It's the Australian market is so ripe for the picking. Like there's no one there, and we're the only ones standing there, and we're listening to people and giving them what they want. And I just think the Australian market's just got so much potential for the company more broadly. And obviously that ties into Asia Pacific and the goals we've got down here in general. But the Australian market's sitting there, we're standing in the middle of it, and we're doing what the clients want and listening to them and delivering. And I think that's just so powerful.
Well, it's similar to our dairy business. Same thing where the market didn't really exist. It was very much controlled by local, milk boards and dairy boards and government intervention. And suddenly, we were in the forefront of being able to create a market, create contracts, expand liquidity into exchange traded derivatives on dairy products, provide, very large liquidity in OTC markets, and basically be the pioneer that listens to its clients. What is the demand? What's the ask? How can we provide it? And then let's introduce new contracts. Let's introduce new capabilities. That's what we want to do across the board. That's why I was so pleased when the success here in launching. And if we can get lamb off the ground, very exciting.
Yeah, agreed. And we haven't even mentioned dairy. It's another one. Like there's so much within what we provide, and it's to be able to not have to deal with 50 different accounts in 20 different places and come and let StoneX do the whole lot. I think to me that's appealing to people. You don't have to have an account over here and you lose your password there and you got to talk to this guy. You come, you deal with Nick on dairy, Steph on grains, me on your couple of lambs you've got out the back. Life's done. Like, how good is that? I think it's just the simplicity of it.
I like that.
Yeah.
The simplicity of it.
The simplicity of it. It makes you want to get up and go to work. Like, I look at the opportunity in Australia, and obviously in my business on the livestock front's exciting, but looking at what I can contribute to the broader StoneX group in the country, and obviously then that feeds into APAC and the broader business, that excites me. I don't know about other people, but I get keen on it. Makes you want to come and we're working towards something ultimately, which is about serving our clients, but we're working towards something as a broader group for the business in general.
Well, excellent. So let's conclude with what wakes you up in the morning is the excitement of getting to the office.
Yeah.
Stefan, what excites you about the future?
Look, I think living in Sydney, one of the most beautiful places in the world. Everybody wants to come to Sydney. Everybody wants to come to Australia. But, I think we're so blessed to be here location-wise, obviously. I always think the employees, we have the best office in Australia, best office in the world. I know I go to a lot of other offices for different companies. I know this is the best office. What excites me is...
He likes the office. I'm sensing that.
We got one of the best bars below our office called Ryan's Bar. Look, and obviously working with Commodities, different specialists in different fields is exciting. I know the carbon energy guys we just hired have taught me a lot, and Rip's taught me so much about livestock. And then working with the futures guys, with Nick and Bob and Daniel, and shout out to Lachlan, who's my right-hand man on the physical desk, has been great as well. Nick?
Yeah, look, I think the opportunity that's down here, you look at the growth of StoneX globally, and now having all these platforms that we can literally passport down to Australia, I think is really exciting. We've grown so quickly in the last couple of years. I just see that trajectory just continuing. So I think we want to keep growing down here. We want to keep adding products. We want to keep innovating. We're very well established in the commodity space, but there's so much more to do in Australia. I think we're just skimming the surface.
And pivoting slightly, we've just recently rebranded our retail platform here away from City Index to forex.com. Now, the feedback we've had has been it's very smooth, seamless, no issues whatsoever. And I think, we probably underestimate how much work is involved in, implementing that brand change. So maybe just sort of a couple of minutes on that and the reaction from your perspective.
Yeah, look, I think firstly, and we haven't talked about it at all, but how closely we try and work with the retail team, right? I mean, there's a lot of synergies there. There's a lot of opportunity to work between different customers. you know, we're now uniting under one brand, Forex.com globally. I think, as you say, a lot of work has gone into it over the last 9 months to pivot, and I think we pivoted on 1st of September. I think the feedback has been strong, so we're kind of excited to keep growing that. We think there's a lot of opportunity in that space down here, and continue to leverage their platform to help us as well.
Well, we're looking to put the cattle swap onto the retail platform, and same in dairy across
Exactly.
Oceania.
Yeah.
Utilizing innovation in one part of the company to benefit clients in another.
They've got a fantastic platform, and you know, I think for a while we weren't using it as much as we should be, and I think we've kind of found an area that we can work closely with them, add products on there, push out to customers. You know, people can look up markets on their mobile rather than having to call up and speak to someone. Some people might like that. Some people prefer to speak to Ripley or Stefan. So I think we'll continue to look to build that out and leverage it and add more markets to it.
What I like hearing about is the 10,000 dairy farmers in New Zealand who, you know, very difficult to access because there's, you know, on a small scale, but giving them the technology and the platform that we're able to provide them so that they can hedge at a level which is probably uneconomic for anyone to provide that hedging capability at the size of the farms that they are. I think is innovation continuing.
And then support them with kind of the education behind it, right? It's very easy to put something in front of someone, and I think that's kind of some of the reasons why maybe past products in Australia have failed, is that you launch it and you stand back and kind of wait for volume and flow to come in, and everyone goes, why is it not coming? Because you've got to get out there, you've got to speak with people, you've got to educate, and so I think dairy guys do that phenomenally well. Rip, Stefan does it well, so.
Excellent. All right, well, I'm sensing the excitement from yourselves. I can see it. We're seeing it in the results. We're seeing it in the growth. We're seeing it, you know, in terms of client engagement. So, you know, congratulations and well done. And, you know, we look forward to the next level of success in 5 years' time when hopefully we've quadrupled the size of the business and the capabilities and extended that capability and product offering into Australia that we're able to provide across the organization. So, well done. Thank you.